Welcome to Nerd on Nerd with me, Jack Kempster.
And me, Liam Underwood.
And joining us this week for our Valentine's Day special, which is a little bit late, is...
Cat Fyson, yeah!
Way!
Way! And in this episode, of course, we'll be talking about Nailbiter, Volume 1, There Will Be Blood, recommended to us by our special guest.
Yep.
But before we get on to that, it's time for my favourite segment, catching up with Jack, and Liam, and Kat. So how are you both doing?
Good.
Good.
Lovely.
How are you doing, Liam?
Fantastic, thank you very much. I mean, I haven't had the best of days, I'm going to be honest.
Well, you're about to tell us all about it, I'm sure.
Only if you want to know.
No, we don't. Moving on.
Moving on.
quickly.
No, go on, Liam. Tell us all about the dentist.
Not only that, but what you don't know, Jack, I currently don't have a shower.
Yeah, is this your leaky water situation?
Yeah, okay. So, someone came Tuesday to have a look at that. After, so to give people a bit of backstory, for a long time now, I've been having problems with a shower leak. A couple of weeks ago, literally I think 3 weeks ago, some people came in to do a load of repairs. So I got new flooring put in, a new ceiling put in downstairs in my kitchen where part of it had collapsed. That collapsed again over the weekend.
Yeah.
Did it actually?
Yeah, because they did all the fixes, but they didn't think of maybe fixing the leak that was causing all of the problems.
I mean, that makes sense.
As a company that goes out to fix things, it makes sense that you wouldn't fix the leak, because now they've got to come back out to put the ceiling up again.
That's twice as much money.
Exactly. Kind of genius from their perspective. Kind of stupid that my letting agents never really figured that out.
They are.
Yeah,
They're
100%.
pretty stupid, though, your letting agent.
Incredibly. So, finally this week someone's come to fix the leak. In the process, they completely removed the shower from my wall and a load of tiles, and apparently the wall is too wet for the tiles to now go back on. So,
What does that mean?
it means I have to go to the gym if I want a shower.
Are they going to... Assumedly, they'll come round at some point and redo all that stuff, right?
Apparently tomorrow. I've been given a tiny little crappy dehumidifier in the meantime to try and help dry out all the walls and everything. But let's bear in mind, when this company came in before, they brought in like a big, like massive fuck off dehumidifier, and that was on for 2 weeks.
Right.
So this tiny little like bog standard one that you could probably pick up from Argos, I don't know how long that's going to take.
No, it doesn't sound like the greatest solution to the problem.
Why have they not just brought back the big dehumidifier?
No idea. I honestly cannot fathom why. So yeah, now, anytime I want to have a shower, I have to go and get naked in a public space.
Well, you get naked in the shower at the gym, right?
Yeah, but it's
You
in...
don't get naked in the public space.
I mean, changing
weird.
rooms are kind of public.
Yeah, but you could wear, like, swim shorts over the top.
I'm not going to. I didn't.
Is that so you can get on better with the old men who like to talk to you?
A little bit. I just feel like wearing swim shorts is kind of like you're ashamed of something, and I have nothing to be ashamed of. Like, everything down there is in perfect proportion.
I believe you.
Thank you. So, I had to go there, get completely butt naked, and then just sort of swan around, because I was trying to fit in.
The way you're describing it is very... You're saying it with such, like, negative, oh, I had to get naked at the gym. But then
You're
you're
loving
like...
it.
Yeah, it sounds like you really enjoy it.
No, I'm going to be honest, it's a horrendous, mortifying experience. I just timed it very well that I managed to do it when there was no one else around.
See, I think what you should do is you should go when it's busy, when there's lots of old men there all getting naked. You should lock eyes with one of them, the one that seems like sort of the alpha male, and then just very loudly say, when in Rome, and then rip off your boxers.
And what
I
do you think
agree
that would
with Jack.
achieve?
I don't know, I just think you're asserting pack dominance there. Then you've got a pack of old people. You can send them out to, do your bidding.
What bidding do you think I'm going to get old people to do for me?
No. You could get them all to dehumidify your shower.
How?
Old people are kind of, they're all a bit dry anyway. Maybe they'll
Oh.
just absorb it.
I apologise to any of our older listeners that we may have.
How old do you
These are
think our
not
listeners
views. I'm going to be honest, I wouldn't be as presumptuous to guess.
Right.
I feel like the topics we talk about could span a wide range of ages from 18 onwards.
I mean, yeah, to be fair, Kat, our target audience is about 80 plus.
Yeah. Dry 80.
Yeah, a nice dry 80.
Next week, we'll be talking about Werther's Originals. And, let's not forget, crosswords.
Oh, that'd be good. We should do that one week.
1 week. But anyway, this week, it's our Valentine's Day special. So, love is in the air. Let's discuss love. How did you spend Valentine's Day, Catherine?
Well, I spent most of Valentine's Day on my own because you slept for most of the day.
What?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're on about.
You know exactly what I'm on about. You didn't get out of bed until like gone 12.
Was that on Valentine's Day? I thought that was on the Saturday.
I'm pretty sure you slept in on Valentine's Day as well.
Oh, it's possible.
It's possible.
No, it isn't actually, because I got up at a reasonable time on Valentine's Day, because otherwise we would not have been able to fit in 3 movies on that day. It was on Saturday when I slept till about 2 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, well then, in that case, all we did on Valentine's Day was watch a bunch of movies.
We watched 3 movies.
Yeah. What 3 movies did we watch, Liam?
We watched A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night.
That was rubbish.
Have you heard of that one, Jack?
No, what is it?
It's supposedly the first Iranian vampire movie, except it was filmed in California.
I didn't know it was filmed in California.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Is Iranian vampire movie a genre that I don't know exists?
I mean,
Is it a genre?
you said
There's
it like-
only one.
yeah, this is supposedly the first.
Iranian vampire movie?
Yeah, but sorry, it's a recent movie as well. It's not like we were watching some obscure 50s movie. It came out last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I did realise I didn't mention that bit.
Yeah, there was only like one half decent scene in it though, wasn't there, really?
Yeah, it was a very slow movie. It wanted to be Let the Right One In, but it didn't have the balls of Let the Right One In to do something interesting, like how Let the Right One In tells an adult story but with children.
Yeah, that's a really good film.
Yeah, exactly, and it's quite a ballsy move. A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night was basically like Let the Right One In, but without any bite.
It sort of sounds like they're trying to do the title thing as well.
Yeah.
Like, Let the Right One In has that kind of title, and A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night sounds like it's trying to do that, but not really.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not going to recommend it to you.
No, I'm probably never going to watch it.
Don't blame you. Do you remember what we watched next, Kat?
I know what we watched last, but I can't remember what we watched after that.
The next movie we watched was Inside Llewyn Davis.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oscar Isaac. Yeah.
Yes. Which is also a Coen Brothers movie. I don't know if you're familiar with their work, either of you.
I am,
I've probably seen some other movies by them, but I wouldn't know them. Like,
I'm pretty sure I made you watch The Big Lebowski at some point.
most probably.
Yeah, the Coen Brothers are really good. I really like them.
Then you might like Inside Llewyn Davis.
Yeah, I thought it was alright, actually. Like, it was okay. Like, it wasn't like, you wouldn't rave about it, but it was quite good. Oscar Isaac's good in everything, so...
That's true.
Yeah.
I would say the movie was more layered than I was perhaps anticipating.
Well, I was expecting Justin Timberlake and Adam Driver to have bigger parts in the film, and Carey Mulligan as well, actually.
Yeah.
But they weren't in it all that much.
No. And also, it is a movie that what I wasn't expecting is that at the end, it does something that is kind of interesting in it. It requires you to think about it for it to become more interesting.
Oh, okay.
And I wasn't quite anticipating that, but the more I reflect on it, the more I'm pleased they did it.
Oh, fair enough.
I don't want to spoil it.
I'll watch them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd
it's
say
worth a
if
watch.
you're familiar, definitely give it a watch.
Yep.
And then the last movie, Kat?
We watched Cyrus, didn't we? Which was...
We did.
Again, was quite good.
I don't know that.
So it's directed by the Duplass brothers.
Don't know who they are.
Mark Duplass is Pete in The League.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, him and his brother directed it. It stars Jonah Hill and John C. Reilly.
Oh, okay.
And basically, John C. Reilly is divorced, and he meets this woman, and her son is Jonah Hill. And I believe the tagline was something along the lines of "Seriously, don't fuck his mum."
Okay.
And it's all about Jonah Hill trying to sabotage their relationship, essentially.
It sounds like a good film.
It was a good film. It was like, that tagline kind of makes it seem more like its humour's going to be along the lines of some, like Step Brothers and Talladega Nights, which John C. Reilly is in. Whereas I wouldn't say it was like that. It had moments like that, which were genuinely pretty funny. But I don't know, like the tone was a bit weird because you had these like funny moments, but then you also had this sort of very serious undertone to it.
Yeah, well, the Duplass brothers made their name within the mumblecore movement with a movie called The Puffy Chair, and they definitely stick with at least that aesthetic and some of those sensibilities they kind of bring to this movie. But they've also, I guess, to get a bigger budget, they've also made the humour a little bit more accessible, I'd say.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's worth a watch.
Yeah.
I'll put it on my list as well.
So that was our Valentine's Day. And also, of course, we exchanged gifts and cards.
We did. So...
Oh, Kat, you did not sound
No.
as impressed.
No, I was very happy with my gifts and cards. I don't
Bloody
know
well
why
should have been.
So I got a comic. So I got the second volume of Thief of Thieves, which I've started reading.
How is that?
It's good. I'm still working my way through the first volume because I found that I read quite a fair amount of it and really liked it. And then I took a few days off of reading it and struggled to get back into it. And this has happened to me a few times with comics, and it's really annoying because if I'd just have kept going, I reckon I probably would have enjoyed it more.
Yeah, that makes sense. I get that with comics if I've forgotten to, like, if I start doing something else and then leave it too long.
Yeah.
The other thing I find with comics is when you're up to date with a comic and then you have to wait for the next volume to come out, and The Walking Dead is the prime example of this, because there's so many characters going on. When you leave like 6 months before you can read the next volume, it takes a while to remember what was going on before, and I almost wish that they would kind of start new volumes with
previously.
Exactly.
Like
that
on
would
TV.
be like just previously on, and then like a little paragraph of what happened in the last volume. That would just make life so much easier for me.
Yeah, because sometimes I'll get like halfway through the comic and I still don't remember what happened in the last issue. I kind of know enough for what's happening now to make sense, but I probably don't have all of the puzzle pieces that they assume that you know as you're reading it.
So what else did you get?
I got a Walking Dead book, and I also got a little book that I told you to buy me.
Yeah, but I mean, don't say like that, because that makes it sound like I put zero thought into it, when
No,
actually
you put
I put
a lot of thought into it. Because it was like one of these sort of like fill in the blank books, wasn't it? Which was called Why You're So Awesome or something. Like,
would you like to give Jack some examples of the pages that you might have found within that book?
I would, but I'm not entirely sure where it is at the moment.
It's a treasured gift, you see.
It is a treasured gift, but I've put it down somewhere that's away from the length of my earphone wire. But, well, Liam, I'm sure you can remember some of the things and some of the answers that you wrote.
So, some examples of the pages you might find in a book like this. Your blank is totally awesome. So, Jack, let's say, hypothetically, you had a girlfriend.
Thanks.
What would you write on that page?
What kind
Your
of question
blank
is that?
is totally awesome.
Yeah, wait. So do you fill it in for them?
Yes.
Wait, how's that going to work if it's a fictitious girlfriend?
Well, tell us what's awesome about her.
Your reptilian skin.
Okay, so that's one sort of thing you could do. So, Kat, do you remember what I wrote for you?
I probably shouldn't say.
Is it something rude, Kat?
Yeah.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, that one was.
No, it was your boyfriend is totally awesome.
Oh, was it? I thought it was another one that you put.
No.
But yeah, there are a lot of answers basically like that, really, because I sent a link to the book to Liam like a week before when he was like, "Oh, I don't know what to get you." So I sent him that, thinking saying it's a bit cheesy, but I want to see what your answers would be, and he definitely didn't disappoint or surprise, because they were basically all along the same lines of being,
which is that
actually
Liam is
being
awesome.
about him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hang on, wait a second. There's one. You were awesomely talented at blank.
Yeah, Google Analytics. Which is true, but...
Another one. It would have been awesome to know you when blank.
I don't remember what you put for that.
I put dinosaurs ruled the earth.
Of course you did, yeah.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. So, sorry, I resent the accusation that my answers were predictable. They were fucking fantastic.
Well, they were still predictable for you, but that's why I asked you to get me that, because I thought it would be funny. And it was.
Fine.
Fine. Liam, what did I buy you for Valentine's Day?
For Valentine's Day, you brought me 2 comic books.
Yeah. Which ones?
One was called Ferals, which looks to be like a werewolfy type story.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of excited to read that. And another one was Crossed +100.
Is that the newest Crossed?
Yeah, written by Alan Moore, or maybe co-written, I can't remember. But it's set in the Crossed universe, but it's set 100 years in the future, where scientists think that the disease has been eradicated, but it hasn't.
No, what
Spoiler
surprise.
alert.
So I actually think it's going to be really good. I was flicking through it, and there was like tits and old lady tits and everything you would expect from Crossed. So
Yeah, that doesn't
can't
surprise
wait.
me.
Yeah.
And then I also got a Pop Funko of Chucky from Child's Play,
Yeah, I know who Chucky is.
the doll. One thing that Kat neglected to mention, she does have another present on the way. It just wasn't released until Monday, and it also wasn't dispatched until yesterday. So she'll get that when I see her next.
Yeah, but I wasn't going to mention it because I haven't got a bloody clue what it is.
It's a secret.
It's a
Yeah,
secret.
so it sort of defeats the point of him being like, there's another present, but no one knows what it is, and I'm not going to say what it is.
It's fine. She'll get it when she gets it. So, Jack, how did you spend Valentine's Day?
That was Sunday, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember. I did nothing. I think I might have just stayed at home the whole day.
Doing what?
Doing anything?
No.
No.
Crying.
See, I would have thought you would have treated your hand to like a nice meal or something.
No, your hand's not a Valentine, Liam. You can't have your hand as a Valentine.
I don't
Why
know.
not?
I reckon you could.
Well, you'd have to like write it a card, and you can't
Yeah.
exactly keep it a secret because it's there when you're writing the card, and that sort of defeats the point.
It depends.
Also, it didn't get me a gift, so I don't feel bad.
Hey, it gives you a gift every time you touch yourself.
That's not a gift.
What is it?
It's punishment. I always flagellate myself afterwards.
Wow.
Yeah. That's something I didn't need to
You have to beat out the sin, guys.
Oh yeah, I forgot you've got that religious upbringing inside of you.
Yeah, my strict religious upbringing.
Yeah. So, did none of our listeners get you a Valentine's Day card, Jack?
Nope, didn't really expect anyone to.
Well, I hope next year that's different.
Are you going to get me a Valentine's card? You didn't get me a Valentine's Day card, Liam, and that hurts a little bit.
Well, I'm not dating you.
You don't have
Well,
to date someone to do a Valentine.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's what Valentines are meant to be.
It's meant to be someone you love, right?
when you were a kid,
Oh,
did you ever
wow.
get a Valentine's Day card from your mum?
No, I actually had girlfriends and stuff.
No, but I mean, like, when you were really
no,
young.
you didn't.
Shut up, I was trying to get away with that.
Almost worked.
Yeah.
So,
No, genuinely, one of my first memories of Valentine's Day, 100% serious, I was probably 8 years old, and a girl in my class gave me a card, and it was at that age where I thought girls were icky, so I completely freaked out. I took it straight home and put it in the bin.
Aw.
Nice.
I don't think I
Yeah.
ever got a Valentine's Day card, like, when I was younger.
Well, my secondary school, so the ages of, 12 to 16, I was in an all-boys school, so I thankfully didn't get any during those times either.
Oh, yeah, and I went to an all-girls school, and I didn't get any.
I went to a mixed school and I didn't get any.
Maybe you should change that story, Jack, and say that you went to an...
I went to a mixed school and I got loads of Valentine's Day cards.
That's a better story. But what I'd like to talk about, since this is our Valentine's Day special...
Can I point out the issue with us doing a Valentine's Day special? That we only realised, to be fair, listeners, we only realised this the other day.
Sure.
We're a little bit late.
We're very
Yeah,
late.
but that's okay. That's not a problem. This will be going out just over a week late, but it's fine. It doesn't mean that people can't get in the mindset of love.
Alright, okay.
So for our Valentine's Day special, I just want to ask both of you, what does love mean to you? And also, what do you love?
I'll let you go first, Jack.
Cool. When you say, what does love mean to me,
Yeah,
what do you mean? Do you mean romantic love? Or love
Just-
in general as a concept?
just as a concept.
As a concept, love is just liking people and being able to, you love your family.
You tolerate them.
Well,
Because you love them.
yeah, okay, that works. And, I love my friends.
All of them?
Well, the ones I love would know I love them. The ones that are sitting there going, oh, does he mean me? No, not them.
Oh, well, I know you love me, so that's no
Yeah,
problem.
exactly. I was angry you didn't give me a Valentine's Day card exactly because of that.
Well, I'm sorry, but maybe next year.
Yeah, love is just being able to, it's, it depends. It's different. I don't know. It's a very difficult question.
Yeah, but I mean, it's topical for this episode.
Okay.
So,
I
Kat,
answered it enough? Yeah, good.
Yes, Liam?
what's your answer?
Love is food.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah, I love food.
Yeah. What else do you love?
More food?
Okay. And Jack, what things do you love?
Things,
Yeah.
books,
Books. Okay.
games.
What do you love, Liam?
Movies. this podcast.
Shit, I dibs on the listeners.
Yeah, you're welcome to listeners, Jack, because
I love the listeners.
That's kind of creepy.
I love our listeners.
I mean, I appreciate them, and I respect the fact that they bothered to listen to us. I would need to see them before I said I loved them.
No.
So is love to you a physical thing then, Liam?
It helps.
But then you're thinking about love. You said it wasn't about, like, physical love, right?
No.
You said it was the concept.
Yeah, that
You don't
completely...
love your mum because of the way your mum looks, do you?
No.
I should hope not.
Exactly.
But love, right, is a very big thing. So there's lots of facets to it.
Yeah.
So I
love our
love
listeners.
things
I don't love
that
our
look
listeners
good.
in a, like, sexual way.
Well, maybe some of them.
Tom Hogan.
Yeah.
He does all our art.
Oh, you can find that on Twitter. But yeah, as a concept then, sure, the listeners. All of them, though?
Why not all of them?
Yeah.
Well, what if we've got some naughty listeners?
What do you mean naughty listeners?
Like prisoners.
That's fine. I love them.
Even if they've done real naughty things.
Yeah. Like, if your family did something naughty, you can still, like, love them.
Yeah, but that's your family. This is just a stranger that happens to listen to our nonsense.
Yeah, but if they enjoy listening to our nonsense,
Right.
then, you know, it's a different type of love. I'm not saying I love them like if I were to meet our listeners, I'd be like, oh my goodness, you're a listener, take this rose.
So, let's say Donald Trump was one of our listeners. You'd love him?
I would love him because he listened, but I think Donald Trump is a complete idiot.
Okay. What about, what's his face? David Cameron.
No.
Yes, fair point. No, I don't know. David Cameron, if you're listening to this,
Fuck off.
stop. Yes, I agree with Kat.
That's a lovely note to end our section all about love. So, the day before Valentine's Day, myself and Kat went to the cinema, which nicely brings us onto one of my favourite sections. We went to the cinema, and this is our spoiler-free review of the film that we saw at the cinema. So what did we see, Kat?
We saw Deadpool.
And no spoilers.
Please don't. I'm seeing it soon.
What did you think?
I really enjoyed it. I thought that it was, like, exactly what I wanted it to be as a Deadpool fan. It was, like, a good mix of the funny stuff, but also, like, the action. There wasn't too much of one or the other.
Yeah, I would say, for me, it was decent.
No.
I wouldn't say great. I would just
would.
say decent. Yeah, this is why I said for me, not for you.
You're wrong.
It was decent. It was a shame that it was almost like it felt a bit shoehorned into the X-Men universe.
Yeah, but I think that was part of the joke, almost. Like,
Yeah.
there were, like, this isn't spoiling it, Jack, but there were, like, one or two jokes about how it had been shoehorned into the universe.
Yeah,
So it's very tongue-in-cheek.
I get why they've done it and whatnot. I'm just saying, for me, I would have preferred if they hadn't. But yeah, Ryan Reynolds was good. Decent movie. I would recommend going to see it, and I also really hope that the fact that it's done as well as it's done, I think it is one of the best grossing movies with a February release date.
Yeah.
And bearing in mind February is normally a time for some pretty poor movies to come out. I think the last best grossing movie with a February release date was 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I remember reading
So,
this.
yeah, this is the kind of movies we're dealing with. The fact that Deadpool has come out and done well, I'm hoping will incentivise studios to fund more risque takes on comic book characters.
I've heard that they may potentially be making the next Wolverine R-rated.
Oh, really?
It's just what I've heard. I read a story about it, and I want to say Digital Spy at lunchtime today that they may potentially make it R-rated off the back of the success of Deadpool, which I would very much like to see.
Same.
I also heard about Deadpool that, despite the fact it's made quite a lot of money, if they're doing a sequel, they still want to keep the budget quite low because they don't want to go into that whole, like, that same arena as movies like X-Men and the Avengers, where it's like a big budget blockbuster type thing, because that's not really Deadpool.
But if it's done really well, like I get keeping it like that to, you know, keep to the style, but it seems weird to limit yourselves because
I don't think it was necessarily like to limit them. I think it's just
No, yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know. It feels weird to say we're not going to do it big, but I get the reason.
Yeah, because like they do have like some quite big set pieces in the movie, but obviously it's not all like in the Avengers where it's all aliens from another planet and stuff like that. It that's just doesn't really sort of fit in with Deadpool. So I can see where they're coming from.
Well, they could always introduce the Skrull if they wanted to go down the alien route with Deadpool and go down the secret invasion storyline.
Yeah, but what
do you mean the Skrull? Is it the Skrull or the Krull?
Oh, I don't remember.
I think it's the Skrull.
You said it with
Possibly.
such confidence, Liam.
He did.
He really did. They could do that, but I think what they want to do is they want to keep it as separate almost as possible from the more family-friendly movies like the Avengers.
Yeah, and I don't know if sort of Marvel, what licenses they have to what things, which would also
affect
limit Deadpool somewhat. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even then they wouldn't put the Skrull in the Deadpool movie. If they were going to do a Skrull storyline, it would be part of the main cinematic universe.
Yeah, but like
Secret Invasion doesn't like start with Deadpool.
No, I get that, but they've got so much already planned with the cinematic universe. Like the next 4 or 5 years already planned out. But
I kind of like the fact that with Deadpool they don't.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like anything, well not anything, but lots of things could happen.
Yeah. The other thing I hope is if it encourages more R-rated superhero movies.
Yeah.
I've said this before, I don't know if I've said it on the podcast, but I would personally love to see an R-rated take on Batman.
Yeah, but see, I think you're looking at it the wrong way. I don't think... If comic book movies went that way, it would suck.
I don't want all of them to, just,
that's
where it's necessary.
Batman isn't R-rated.
But it could be.
But what would be the point? It would be such a, weird decision. I get that you're interested in seeing it, but it would be a weird decision, and I don't think it'd be a good direction for the franchise to go.
Liam, what do you think would be massively different with an R-rated Batman as opposed to, the Dark Knight trilogy, which is relatively dark?
Yeah, the Dark Knight trilogy does push the envelope. I think it skirts very close to being R-rated. I personally would like to see a Joker just completely unleashed without any... merchandising restrictions on him. We can't have the Joker do that because how would we sell these toys? Which I guess at the end of the day,
I feel like they did that in the Dark Knight trilogy.
No, they don't really do.
I didn't watch the second one and go, oh, I really wish that. I bet that they were sitting there going, how do we market this toy that holds knives in people's mouths and threatens to slice their cheeks open? I don't think they were thinking about kids' toys when they did those scenes, Liam.
Yeah, that's why I want to know what you would expect from an R-rated Batman that hasn't already been done.
I would personally like to, as I said, see an unleashed Joker, and I would like to see an R-rated take on the Death in the Family storyline.
Oh yeah, I'd like to see that in as a movie, and that would only really work as R-rated.
There we go then. That's what I would like to see.
Okay then, thank you for clarifying.
That's all right. But yeah, I mean, I don't want them to go down the road of, Deadpool did well as R-rated, so now all of our comic book movies need to be R-rated.
Yeah, because that could go terribly.
Yeah, but if it's appropriate for the story, I wouldn't want them to be we can't do that because we would have to make it R-rated. I wouldn't want that to be a restriction.
Yeah.
Yeah, which it sounds like it probably won't be if this is done super well, which it has.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just saying it would be nice if other franchises adopted it where appropriate.
Yeah, but see, right, I get what you're saying, right? But I think the way that they've got to do it now is if they're going to do R-rated stuff, it would have to be its own separate thing, right? So, Deadpool can be R-rated because Deadpool, he could still cross, I know they probably won't because of all the licensing and stuff, but if he crossed into another film, that's fine. But the Deadpool films are R-rated, so it'd have to be. You couldn't do Batman being a PG or whatever, or 15, whatever it is, in our rating system, and then have one film be an 18, because all that would do, whilst that would be good for telling the Death in the Family story, every Batman fan that they've gained who's under that age is going to be like, why have you stopped us seeing it?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but I don't care about every Batman film that's under that age.
This is your problem. You're very selfish and self-centered.
Yeah. The other thing, I personally would love to see an R-rated Suicide Squad. I think that would be interesting, just to see what they would come up with if they didn't have that.
Have you read the Suicide Squad comics?
No.
Not yet.
See, so I don't think you can say that.
No, I can, because, from what I've seen of the marketing for Suicide Squad so far, it's a lot of violent characters, and it would be interesting putting them in an R-rated arena where you could see that violence manifest on screen.
I think you are picturing it wrong. I think you're imagining all these villains. I don't know, man. I disagree with you on this.
Well, that's fine. This is a podcast where we don't always have to agree,
No,
but we can still love each other.
Now.
No, because we can still love each other, Jack, and that's the important thing.
No, I think we've got to cancel it all.
Alright, so Kat, what would you give Deadpool out of 5?
I think at the moment, I would probably give it a 4 or a 4.5, just because as a Deadpool fan, I was really satisfied by it.
That's where I personally would give it 3.5. It was better than average, it was enjoyable, and it was a lot of fun.
Now, just to settle the listeners' curiosity here, I am going to have to ask this question. Kat, your rating system, now, what sort of baseline can we use for that? Because, as I'm sure you know, me and Liam have very different rating systems on the 5-star scale.
That's true.
How would you describe your rating system?
Well, a 5-star is a movie that I could pretty much watch whenever, and could watch again and again and still enjoy it. So that's why Deadpool isn't that high up just yet, because I've obviously only seen it once. I'd say an average movie is going to probably sit around 2.5 to 3.
Yeah.
Like, an average comedy that still made me laugh is probably going to be a 3, but just an average film is going to be 2.5. Does that explain
there
it?
We go, listeners.
I don't really understand why ratings are so complicated with you two.
We don't know either, we'll be honest.
No, we don't.
No.
I'll be honest, I don't even know which one my system is anymore. It's got that deep.
Oh, yeah. It's mental. So, I also saw another movie at the cinema this week. I went by myself, because no one wanted to come with me, to go and see the Zac Efron and Robert De Niro starring movie Dirty Grandpa.
How exciting.
So, my spoiler-free review of that, it made me laugh. It made me laugh probably about as much as Deadpool made me laugh.
I mean, I can't judge, but I will.
You shouldn't.
How much of it is just that Zac Efron is in the movie, though, Liam?
Oh, won't lie. I appreciated the fact that he was in the movie, and I appreciated the fact that on more than one occasion he got his body out in the movie. Nothing wrong with that.
No, I'm just saying it to let listeners know that some of it, if they're not a huge fan of Zac Efron, take your spoiler-free review with a hint of salt.
Yeah, I think if anyone else was playing his role, I probably wouldn't enjoy it as much, but because it was him... I think everyone has certain actors where as soon as they see them in a movie, their enjoyment of that movie instantly bumps up, even before the actor has done anything. I think we've all got certain people like that. I mean, I know Kat, for example, Ryan Gosling appears on screen, she's happy.
Yeah, or Tom Hardy.
Exactly. I'm sure you've got some people like that, Jack, if you could remember who actors were.
Yep.
I mean, Nathan Fillion, for example.
He doesn't do a lot of movies, though.
No.
Was he not in Guardians of the Galaxy briefly? Or am I just misremembering that?
Yeah, he was.
There we go
But
then.
it was like
But
cameo.
it doesn't...
Yeah.
And I'm not like, if an actor's in a film, I don't think that particularly... I'm trying to think of an actor that it would... Like, I love Robert Downey Jr. in the Iron Man films, but when I went and saw the, is it Due Date or whatever, the one that he did with Zach Galifianakis?
Yep.
Not a good film. Like, so I don't think... Because I don't know actors, I think it's harder for an actor to sway me.
Yeah, maybe. For me, I'll watch anything with Zac Efron in. I love him. I wish he'd be my Valentine's, in all honesty.
Thanks.
It's alright. So yeah, Dirty Grandpa, I would say probably overall 3 out of 5.
Wait, so what did you give Deadpool again?
3.5.
Okay.
Bearing in mind, Deadpool wasn't just a comedy and there were other reasons why I enjoyed it, whereas Dirty Grandpa is just a comedy. But if we're just judging them both purely on how much they made me laugh, it was probably equal, but there were other elements to Deadpool that made it more enjoyable than something like Dirty Grandpa.
Right, fair enough.
Yep, fair enough.
So, also, just a quick addendum, I now have a Cineworld Unlimited cinema card, so Jack, you can expect a lot more spoiler-free review movies of things I saw at the cinema.
I can't wait.
Good. And I'm sure our listeners can't either. Nerd news! What's been going on in the world of nerd, Jack?
Well, I know that you guys are huge video game fans, both of you.
I mean,
I'm not,
am,
but I think I know what you're going to talk about, so
Yeah.
I'm going to count
So
that.
I know for a fact that you've both played the Silent Hill, the PT demo.
Yeah.
Yes.
So after I don't know how much our fans know about the world of Hideo Kojima, but he got fired from Konami
Was this before or after Metal Gear Solid 5 was completed?
It was happening during, like, Metal Gear Solid 5. Some of, like, Kojima isn't referenced in some of it, and it's all very complicated, and there's a lot of backstory to it. Yeah, no, it's like crazy how much... It's been going on for a while. Like, they didn't announce he'd been fired for ages. There were loads of hints that he had been. They were like, no, we're keeping him on, and then he got fired. So that's all mental. No idea. Konami are very... It's an odd thing, because if you look at how well PT did, considering it's a demo, it was like huge numbers of people played it and loved it and were so excited about there being a new Silent Hill.
Yeah.
And there were also rumours of Guillermo del Toro being involved in the story of Silent Hill. Is that right?
He was involved. He was involved in the story of it. They had Norman Reedus as voicing the main character.
Of course.
So that got canned. Everyone was very upset, and then Sony came along, and I don't know if they're partnered in it or something, but they've helped him set up a new company called Kojima Studios, I think, or Kojima Productions.
Okay.
Nice.
And then basically the other day, he tweeted out a picture of him and Norman Reedus sitting together, and it's all very hinting at they're going to be doing something together. Guillermo del Toro and him they did a conference at DICE today. As we're speaking, they might be on stage. So it's basically all...
It's all basically pointing towards the fact that the project might come back to life.
Yes. Possibly under a different name, because I'm sure... I don't think it'll be Silent Hill, because Konami own the rights to that. But a very similar project might happen.
I think it could work really well, like, as something a little bit different anyway.
Oh yeah, like, it was so different, that demo, to any of the other Silent Hill things, really.
Yeah. It
doesn't need that branding to work.
What do you think, Liam?
I agree with what Jack said.
Nice. Good save, Liam.
No, I was going to make the point that PT didn't feel like a Silent Hill game, but you said that, so I can't make that point. Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like they were trying something new, and Konami were like, we want another Silent Hill.
But that wasn't why they got rid of him, was it? Or do we not know?
No.
We don't know. Well, not listening.
We don't know the reason.
Okay. So basically, to wrap that story up, you're excited at the possibility of them doing another Silent Hill game, even though you don't like those sort of games?
Yeah, I won't play it, but I'm fascinated to see it.
Right.
Actually,
I'm
agree.
terrified of scary games, but I like watching people play scary. Like, I'll quite happily sit and watch someone else play it. I know, like, I'd love to be able to play those sort of games, but I freeze up and I panic.
So, Jack, serious question right now. If one of our dear sweet listeners suggests that me and you in a future episode play a scary game, how are you going to handle that?
What I would do is I would say, hey Liam, for this episode, should I come down for a weekend and we'll just marathon the game together? Because I won't get far by myself and it will suck.
Okay, so yeah, if any listeners, I don't want to, give you ideas, but something to bear in mind perhaps when thinking of things to suggest.
I'll happily do a scary game. I'll just need to adjust what I do.
You just need to hold somebody's hand while you play.
Yeah, that's what it is, basically. I need Liam. I need to cower behind Liam while he plays it.
Heroically.
Yeah, oh yeah. Am I being heroic or are you?
Both.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, you mentioned Norman Reedus, and that leads us very nicely onto a topic that I know Kat is almost wetting herself to talk about, and that is the return of The Walking Dead.
Yay!
Woo! Don't do any spoilers!
Yeah, I was going to say, Jack's a bit behind, so no spoilers, but the second half of Season 6 is back, came back on Valentine's Day, so...
Romance.
Topical for this episode as well, for us to be discussing it. What did you think?
Well, as you know, I really enjoyed it, and the reason that I really enjoyed it, and don't worry, Jack, this isn't a spoiler, is that it drew pretty heavily from the comic book, and that is usually when the show is at its best, when it's kind of like, it doesn't follow the exact same narrative as the comics, but it takes elements of them and kind of makes them different enough that if you have read the comics and watched the show, you don't know exactly when things are going to happen that happen in the comics, and they might happen differently. Would you agree with that, Liam?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a bit sniffy towards the show in the past. Like, it was never a show that I felt particularly compelled to watch weekly. I would have always been quite happy to wait for the season to end and then just binge watch it over a weekend or something. But That was never an option with Kat.
No.
She was very much a lot more into it than I was until this season. And I have to be honest, it's really turned me around. Season 6, I think so far that they've just keep consistently knocking it out of the park.
Yeah.
There's been maybe 1 or 2 not brilliant episodes, but I wouldn't say there's been a single bad episode in the whole season so far.
Don't there, a couple of sort of bad episodes of series?
Oh, in my opinion, it's more the majority were pretty average, and every now and again you get 1 or 2 good episodes. But I'd say this season flips that, and the majority is really good, and you get 1 or 2 average.
Yeah, I think it's because previously The Walking Dead it always seemed to have the same sort of pacing, where it would start really slow, and then a thing would happen, and then it would slow down again, and it just kind of got too formulaic. Whereas now, like with this season, I think it's almost consistently been like shit's going down every episode.
Oh yeah, well,
almost every
again,
episode.
this isn't a spoiler, but what they've done, which is quite smart about this season as well, is so far we've only seen the majority of the season take place over the course of 2 days within the Walking Dead universe.
Oh, okay.
And I think that's given them a lot of licensing to, 1, keep the tension at quite a high level, but 2, also dig into different characters a little bit deeper than they normally would with such a huge cast. It allows more time for smaller characters to get their moments as well.
Yeah, and they've kind of like separated the cast a bit, haven't they? Where like when you've got like a big ensemble cast, you don't get to know the characters as well. Whereas they've kind of sort of like divided the group a little bit so that like characters that you don't know as much about, or you don't know the dynamics of them with other characters, you've kind of got to discover and find out more about them in this season.
Yeah, what the sort of premiere episode that aired on Sunday did quite nicely was it wrapped up the storyline that we've had throughout the first half of the season. So now I'm also really excited to see where they go next.
Yeah, especially if they are going to continue to draw upon the comic more heavily than they had done previously.
Exactly, and it gives me a lot of hope because, again, no spoilers, there's a character in the comics that they've already announced they're introducing to the show, but there is an event from the comics that I wanted to see them do before that character comes about, and in this episode we get to see them do that. So now it feels like they're primed and ready for this character to be introduced, so I am giddy with excitement.
Giddy.
You sound it, mate. You sound like you're just...
Well, you know what my voice is like. We've discussed this before.
Trust me, Jack, he's giddy with excitement about it.
Culture swap. Swap my culture.
Yay.
This week, Kat suggested that we read...
Nailbiter, Volume 1, There Will Be Blood.
Written by?
It's written by Joshua Williamson, and the art is by Mike Henderson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have to admit, I don't think I've read any other comics by them.
No, did you know who did the colours?
Who did the colours? Should I tell you who did the colours?
Yes, please. I don't want to overlook anyone.
Adam Guzowski did the colours.
Okay. What about the letters and the book design?
You've got the book in front of you, haven't you?
Yeah, he has, yeah.
So why don't you just tell us?
John J. Hill.
Yeah, and who edited it?
Rob Levin.
Wow. Shall I move on?
Please do.
Right.
First, could you tell us why you recommended Nailbiter for the Loved Up Valentine's Day episode?
Well, I set you both a challenge to find the love within the story, and I think you'll have found it. I'm confident in both of you that you found it. But the real reason, as we know, is that I had to try and pick something that neither of you had already read. And I read this quite a while ago, so I reread it, and I still loved it. I still think it's a good story.
It is. Now, just for any listeners who are listening who maybe haven't read Nailbiter yet, we are going to go into spoilers probably pretty quickly. So if you haven't read it and you would like to, maybe just skip to the end.
Well, I would say before they disappear that they should have like a general overview of what it's about so that they know whether it's worth reading or not.
Okay, do that then.
So basically, Nailbiter is like, it's about a serial killer who bites off people's nails. But the largest sort of part of the story is that it's set in a town that has bred serial killers. Like, lots of serial killers come from this one... 16 serial killers, thank you, Liam, have come from this small town, which I cannot remember the name of. Was it Buffalo?
Yeah, no. Is it not? What is it?
It begins with B, but it wasn't Buffalo.
Oh, bear with me, I've got the page. Buckaroo. My bad.
Buckaroo. Because they were called the Buckaroo Butchers, weren't they?
Yes.
Some of the killers.
Yeah. Okay, so anyone who hasn't read it can leave now. Get out.
Bye.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I have to admit, I'm very pleased you recommended it. It's one of the better... Yeah, it's one of the better recommendations I've been given on the podcast so far, not going to lie. The story was right up my street. The artwork was great.
Yeah, it's very good, isn't it?
It really is.
It does remind me a bit of, and Jack, you might possibly agree, like, it has got a bit of a Chew vibe to it.
Yes, yeah.
Like, the people's faces and stuff, right, that's going to sound really weird, but, like, the sort of, like...
No, I get what you're saying.
The human artwork is a lot like Chew.
It definitely is, yeah. No, 100%.
Which you need to read, Liam. Sort your life out.
Yeah, I'll get around to it. I just, honestly, I loved the way it was laid out.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the way that they didn't over-rely on backstory, but there were sort of flashbacks throughout.
Yeah,
but it was always very obvious.
It drops you into the action straight away, doesn't it? You've got this character who's this, he's essentially kind of like a Jack Bauer type character in that he tortures people for information.
Yeah, he's like a Black Jack Bauer.
He's just like a Black Jack Bauer. And you don't have... They're clearly teasing a bit later on in the story, like some shady past that we don't yet know about.
No, all we know is he's currently on trial for murder.
Yeah.
It opens with him about to kill himself.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's like...
Which is a very interesting opening.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it kind of dives into this story and doesn't give you loads and loads of context behind it. It kind of teases parts of that, but you know that sort of reading on. Because I was really tempted to read Volume 2 ahead of the podcast, but I didn't want to accidentally, like, spoil stuff that wasn't in the first volume.
I said to Liam that as soon as I finished this, I was like, I can't wait to read the second one.
Yeah.
But I want to save it till after the podcast so I don't do a Liam and read all of the issues that have come out and then talk about it for an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also am really excited to read Volume 2, but I also didn't want to do a Liam.
Yeah.
Which is surprising for Liam.
Yeah.
Because he is Liam.
Yeah. Also, I only read it today, and it wouldn't have given me a lot of time to acquire the issues and read them. Whatever, it's fresh in my mind.
Right. I really want to talk about something that I don't know if you guys would agree with. You probably will. I said that like it's a controversial topic. But there's a specific scene, right, in this graphic novel, which I loved. Literally loved. I say a scene, I don't know what you call it in a comic.
I know, if it's what I'm thinking of, I would also say it's a scene, and I also really loved it.
Is it when they're in the morgue?
Yes, and the lights keep flicking out.
That
One
was
of the
very
most
cool.
So well done. It feels like a movie.
It does.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's because that is so. It's so the lights. Every other panel, once it gets into it, every other panel, the lights turn off and then flicker back on, and the killer that is coming to try and stop them is doing a proper, like, old school serial killer.
Sneaking up.
Every time the lights come back on, he's disappeared or he's closer. Oh, it's just genius. I loved it so much.
It was cool.
Really well done.
Yeah. But, so where do you guys think that the love element came into the story then?
I think...
I'm going to say mine before Liam because I'm worried he's going to steal mine.
Okay.
No, I think it's someone that loves...
No, because you're going to steal mine. I know you are.
I won't.
Beforehand.
I won't steal yours, I promise.
Oh, go on then.
I think the love story is about someone that loves killing.
What, so Warren? Or...
No, I don't think it's necessarily Warren that loves killing, but there is definitely someone in this town that fucking loves killing and also potentially loves the idea of creating or influencing or coercing serial killers.
Okay.
So you've gone for like a real, like, metaphorical, either one.
Yeah.
Sort of interpretation of love in this graphic novel.
What did you think, Jack?
Yeah. There is a more obvious one, but I've left that for Jack to pick up.
I don't think it's more obvious, right? So because we only did the first volume, we don't know if this is the case.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the love in this graphic novel is between Edward, the main serial killer, or nail-biter himself,
Or
and,
Warren, as he's
Shannon.
often referred to.
Yeah.
Edward Warren.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And Shannon, the who is a cop in the town, who they admit they had a past and they went to prom together.
Yeah. But there's obviously
But
some
it
sort
seems-
of chemistry there, isn't there?
Yeah, like he protects her at the end. There's a scene where he saves her life.
Yeah.
So and like they have something going on.
Yeah, I think he definitely is still in love with her. Her less so, and I think she
Oh, yeah,
even
she's not in
mentions
love
how
with him.
much she hates at the end that she's in debt to him now that he saved her life.
Yeah, it's not a good kind of love. It's
No.
a serial killer kind of love.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I really liked, I was gonna pick up on it as a criticism until they actually addressed it in the comic book itself, but I really liked the parallels between this and The Silence of the Lambs, and the fact that they quite are open about the fact that that is clearly some sort of influence that's going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm literally just flicking through randomly while we're talking and turn to a page where the first panel is him saying, "Hello, Clarice."
Exactly. And
And
he
she's
mentions
just
it
like,
again.
That's not my name.
Yeah. And then he complains that she doesn't know what Silence of the Lambs is.
Yeah.
Yep, and then he mentions it again to Alice, who is a younger girl in it, who she is a real interesting character. I'm sorry, she starts off very much kind of like a damsel in distress almost, but she can kind of put up a bit of a fight. But then by the end of it, I honestly couldn't tell you if she's just twisted and warped or not.
No, I think the implication is so there's so the bit you're talking about is the beginning. She gets beaten up by or that threatened to get beaten up or raped possibly by two of the local
Someone
town
gets
bullies.
a bit grabby,
She's-
don't they?
Yeah, she's sexually harassed.
Yeah.
Sexually harassed, and later on she references killers, thinks they should die.
Yes.
The two guys.
Yes.
When they then later on turn up dead, she's very unsympathetic about the whole thing and is like, good.
Yeah. And that's when you start being like, oh, there's something not quite right about
Yeah,
this chick.
is she a killer?
Yeah.
And then you see a room she has in her basement where she is tracking all of the killings.
Well, you skipped a bit as well, that there's a bit where she talks to Nailbiter.
Oh, and says she'll free him.
Yeah, and that is also where he more openly references Silence of the Lambs.
Yes, that was the bit that I literally spoke about
Yeah, we were
when
referring
you
to that
mentioned
bit.
Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, I thought you were
You're the
talking
one
about
who
the
got
bit...
confused and spoke about a different
I thought you were talking about the bit where he was talking to the cop and he was making Silence of the Lambs
no.
references to her.
Because
Liam.
that scene with Alice is when
Earlier.
when he says hello, Clarice, and she's like, "That's not my name."
Cool.
That's what we were talking about. But
Got you.
so another bit of the comic that I'm keen to discuss is that the near to last scene when there's the fire in the murder store,
Yeah.
Yes.
and you've got this like horned character who's trying to kill Thingy-majig.
Is it that he kills the owner of the shop
Yeah.
and then he tries to kill the Shannon, the cop lady.
Yeah.
And what's his face? The
Finch.
Finch.
Blackjack Bauer.
Blackjack Bauer.
What
What about that
Yeah,
scene,
so-
Kat?
what do we think of this character? Do we think that he might be behind all the rest of the killings? Do we think that he's a completely different character, or
So what I think it is that so they have scenes where you don't see who is talking to these people, and there's someone encouraging people to kill people,
Yeah.
and reenact these old serial killers, and then it's implied that that's him in one of the last scenes. But I also I think there's two. So I don't think he's the person that's making serial killers. I think he's part of this new group. He's making the relatives of the serial killers like reenact the murders or do murders in their style.
yeah,
And then I think there's also a separate story, which is whoever is behind the serial killers being made, because there's like a dungeon under a graveyard.
where they find Carol?
Yeah.
Yes.
So do you think the guy with the horns is the one who attacked Carol, or do we think that might have been someone else within this group that's formed?
I think it's someone else.
I think it's him just because his MO seems to be...
To hack people up.
Yeah.
No, because Carol's mouth is sewn shut, which is the MO of one of the old killers. It's
Yeah, true.
The blonde lady.
Yeah, but his arms and legs are also hacked off, which is ties in nicely with the shop owner having his head
That
hacked
is
off.
what that guy does. But it's the mouth sewn shut thing that's...
Or do you
Because
think
that is
that this
specifically...
person the one with the horns, as I'm going to keep referring to him as, that Hacked Up Rally, the shop owner, is perhaps imitating several of the different killers.
I think he's using all of the killer's previous sort of.
He's almost like some
traits.
sort of like fucked up super fan that's just like,
yes.
I'm going to reenact these different ways, because that was the impression that I got. But what I like is that you can interpret it differently.
Definitely.
Well, I think the only thing to me that is clear is that Warren isn't as involved as obviously everyone else in the town thinks he is because of his past.
Yeah, and I also like that when we're first introduced to him, we are quite deliberately led to suspect him.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he's cooking up this dinner and he's covered in blood.
Yes.
You're immediately, like, that's your first time you're seeing him sort of in the present day within the story, and it immediately kind of makes you distrust him.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
But what I quite like is the fact that it was established as 16 serial killers. I think we could safely assume there's now at least 17 with this new guy on the block. But we've only so far seen 8 of them referenced in the comic, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing the other 8.
I can just imagine you going through the comic and like doing a tally of like,
that's
that's
exactly
another one.
what I did.
That's another one.
We didn't do that, Kat. We didn't do that at all.
I'm the only one that just kind of just enjoyed the comic for what it is without having to like...
See, I only did this. I did this with Liam before we
I
started.
see how it is.
We
You
both read and enjoyed
inspired
it. Yeah, collusion.
Yeah, that was...
Yeah, we were like, we've got to be smarter than Kat.
Yeah, we both enjoyed it, but then I knew there were some
just wanted
points I
to
wanted to
one-up
make.
me, because I would have been like, well, I've read it twice, I know all the things, and you're just like, oh no, I've got
There's just some points I wanted to make. Yeah, so I went through and I made a little tally that I've got written down in my notes here of how many serial killers we see, and I'm just saying I would like to see the other 8, hopefully soon.
Yeah, definitely.
Can I? One of the things. This is. I'm sort of jumping around points here, but I like it. One of the things that I super enjoyed about this as well is in all the scenes where people are eating. Every time they're eating, it's highly gory. Like
like there was a steak,
scene where,
isn't there? That's...
Yes, Finch is cutting a steak and the knife's covered in blood. Then Shannon eats a burger and the burger drips ketchup all over her, and like her hands look like they're covered in blood.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really well done.
I liked that as well. But yeah, the artwork was really, really good.
Yeah.
Definitely. I don't know if it's just me, but I got... and I can't tell you which came first, so I don't know who's influencing who, but I read it before. I got a bit of a Southern Bastards vibe from this, in that it's set in this like backwaters American town, and it's all about this close-knit community.
Yeah, it's all very...
And then like, a newcomer coming in and shit hitting the fan.
I don't think it's either one taking influence from each other.
No, I think you can draw similarities between the two, and I like those stories.
Like an American thing. That's like
one
of the best story hooks is the backwater town that's...
Yeah, there's many slasher movies you could look at that you could say also were inspiration.
I think it's a consistency with Image Comics as well. Like, I think there's several different sort of comics that they do that are along the same, like, similar lines, like you said, of like a small town in America, and that it seems quite normal. I mean, there's another comic that I've read that was called Postal.
Okay.
And I have to admit, I didn't really think a huge amount of it. I thought it was okay, but it didn't make me want to keep reading. But it's about this postman who, if I remember rightly, he's got Asperger's.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to like read a character, because like the way that it's written and the sort of dialogue that he has, like and the mannerisms of the character are really in line with someone who has Asperger's.
Okay.
But again, it's kind of set in like this small town where everybody seems to know each other and know each other's business. But there's like this underlying threat of something is going to go down.
Yeah, something not quite right.
Yeah. I think Nailbiter kind of like emphasises that and kind of turns it up to 11 in that everybody knows that the town is fucked up and it breeds fucked up people, and they just kind of seem to get on with it, and they're all like most of the characters are related in some way to one of the serial killers, and that's just like a totally normal thing for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't like outsiders talking about the killers.
But they like talking about the killers.
Yeah, they're quite happy to talk about it between themselves, but as soon as an outsider comes in and starts asking questions, they like close up ranks.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is interesting, that I'm looking forward to them eventually explaining, I guess, is the fact that Carol, who is a cop that initially was investigating this town, we find out that he thinks he knows the secret as to why this town has bred so many serial killers.
Yeah, and that's why they've sewn his mouth shut and they've locked off his limbs and left him for dead, because they don't want that secret to get out.
Exactly, but what is interesting about that is it indicates that there clearly is a reason behind it. It's not just coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to finding out more, because I think this volume ends with Finch basically taking up that cause.
Yeah, there's also that bit where, like, I don't think it's the FBI, but a similar sort of, like, agency come along and say, we're now investigating the story. Or, not story, this
They
crime.
say that Finch shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
Because he's on trial for murder.
Yeah. And that they're kind of taking
And then you
over.
also see that Alice has been studying the murderers, and it looks like she's trying to solve it as well.
It does end on a really interesting... A lot is up in the air, but it also... It's not in a frustrating way. You know where sometimes you'll read a comic and it ends in a way that's very much like, please buy the next one.
Yeah.
Please, come on. We really want you to. It doesn't... It wraps up enough that you feel satisfied with it.
But still
But it
intrigued.
leaves enough hanging that you are keen to read what happens next.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So what would we all give it out of 5?
4?
I'd say 4.5, because it's, for me, like, I love my horror comics. So it's kind of, I much prefer, like, horror comics to, like, superhero comics. So it's more of my medium, probably.
I completely agree with that, but for me it's also a 4 out of 5, but it's a solid 4. Real good recommendation.
Thanks very much.
Tick.
Tick. Done.
Thanks, Kat, for being our very first special guest on our Loved Up Valentine's Day special episode.
That's quite alright, I had fun.
Good. Is there... Where can listeners find you on the internet?
So I'm all over the internet, but in a good way. You can find me on Twitter at moreaboutcat, which is probably the best way to find me on the internet.
Anywhere else?
I have a blog where I occasionally write about comics and other nerdy stuff, like films, which is...
I think I saw a Deadpool review on there recently.
You did, and you read it, so you definitely saw it. Which is moreaboutcat.co.uk.
Perfect. Thanks, Kat.
Thanks, Kat.
That's okay.
Next week, Jack.
In the next episode of Nerd and Nerd, we're going to be discussing Making a Murderer. We're going to be doing the first 3 episodes.
Yeah. Now, this hasn't actually been recommended to us by any of our listeners, has it?
It hasn't, but it has been recommended to me a lot in real life.
Yeah, same. But if any of our listeners would like to recommend something to us, how would they do that?
You can contact us at nerdornerd on Twitter, or you can email nerdornerdpod@gmail.com.
Perfect.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Nerd on Nerd. I've been Jack Kempster. He's been Liam Underwood. She's been Kat Fyson. Sorted. See you all later. Bye.
Bye!